with that wonderful introduction. Oh, boy. I'm already glad I came to Staten Island. I don't usually get a hand to start out. Listen, thank you to everybody for joining us. This is a great celebration. I'm Jan Oliver, the chair and CEO of the MTA. I'm joined by Rich Davey, who is the president of New York City Transit, Demetrius Critchlow, who runs the subway system and is a veteran of 3 years running what I still call SRTOA, the Staten Island Rapid Transit System, MTA C&D president Jamie Torres Springer, and a man who he didn't just come with a check, he already delivered the check, the FTA regional administrator. This is a largely federally funded project, so we got a special thank you to our friend and partner, Steve Goodman, and the borough president, Vito Fossella, has joined us, and we're really thrilled to have his partnership. Now, a couple of electeds are being represented by staff. Assemblyman Charles Fall, passionate supporter of mass transit on Staten Island, is represented by Viomo Emanuel, and council member Camilla Hanks is being represented by Antoine Suarez. I'm hoping I'm saying that correct. And we have a representative from Senator Diane Servino's office as well. So thank you to all of those for their support for this project. So with those preliminaries, let me just say as we start out, we're here to unveil this new Clifton car maintenance shop, which is a 93,000 square foot facility that is going to be the nucleus of the Staten Island Railway going forward, a new 4-track shop, support buildings. This is a major change for this component of the MTA, our beloved Staten Island Railway. Rich and Demetrius are going to talk a little more about the impact that we'll have, but let me just say this is a big upgrade because the old facility was not up to speed for modern operation, and it was really hit hard during Hurricane Sandy. So this project was in part about upgrading the railway, and it was also about creating a resilient facility. So, you know, we're all about dealing with climate change and the reality of how the new world is functioning, and this facility is a big step forward from that standpoint. As I said, we couldn't have done it without our partnership with the federal government, specifically the Federal Transit Administration, part of US DOT. And this project was funded, remember, and we're 10 years out from Superstorm Sandy, but this project was funded by, in a large part, overwhelmingly, by the federal response to Hurricane Sandy. When, you know, usually it's hurricanes, and we all know Mr. Fossella was in the Congress for a long time. Hurricanes usually mean money going to Florida or the Gulf Coast or elsewhere. In this case, a weather event brought money to New York, and it was used in part for this facility. So that is a major input from the federal government. And more broadly, I got to thank Steve. Steve, it's not a secret, Steve is retiring. Can I say retiring? He's a young man. He's not sailing off into the sunset, but he has been so important in everything we've been able to do at the MTA in the capital side of things, continuing massive investments. Think of that $55 billion capital program we have. A big chunk of it comes from the feds, and we hope more and more under the Biden infrastructure law will be coming to New York through the feds. So thank you to Steve. I also want to recognize Demetrius. As I said, he was the chief officer of Staten Island Railway, and the team at MTA C&D, which is the outfit at MTA. I started a couple of years ago, but Jamie is running it very capably now, and that is the outfit that implements capital projects at the MTA for the whole agency in a I think, a very innovative and forward-looking way. So thank you to Jamie. So with that, let me turn it over to Rich Davey. This is the guy from Boston who came to run the New York subway system and bus system, and we bless him every day for it because he doesn't say a word about the Pats, doesn't say a word about the Bo Sox, and he's making everything that he runs in New York a hell of a lot better. Rich Davey.
Well, if you're looking for the Red Sox, they're in the basement of 2 Broadway this year, so that's you can make fun of me for that. Yeah, I feel like a little bit of an interloper because 10 years later, this amazing facility has opened up through the hard work of the people behind me, behind them, and all of you here. Just a couple of things I want to reflect on. First, I think this is the sign of a continued investment we're making in Staten Island, right? So it's making sure that all 5 boroughs here in New York are being well served by the services of New York City Transit. And I will say in my career, it's not often that we invest enough in things like back shops, power, signal. I call it the unsexy stuff of infrastructure. This is a pretty amazing facility that will, not only be taking care of some of the older fleet we have today, but more importantly, taking, as we bring on new cars next year into 2024 for our customers here on Staten Island, having a state-of-the-art facility like this will make sure that we keep those cars for the next 20, 30 years in a state of good repair, which is so critical. So I want to appreciate that. I also want to appreciate Vanu, who's the new Demetrius Richlow, and your team for continuing to provide excellent service for our customers in Staten Island. Very much appreciate the work that you're doing as well. And finally, before I introduce Jamie Torres-Springer, the president of C&D, we often get to collaborate quite a bit, and just want to appreciate his team. I know it's not often easy sometimes working with us in transit. We can be demanding clients and customers, but we very much appreciate what C&D does to make the system that we're operating for 5.5 million New Yorkers today and many more to come as efficient as best as it can be. So I wanted to acknowledge the C&D team too. With that, I want to say, Jamie Torres-Springer, come on up, and congratulations on this gorgeous facility.
Thank you, Rich, and to you. It is a great partnership between these two agencies at the MTA to get amazing projects like this built and keep them operating. We're enormously proud to show off the Clifton Maintenance Shop today. I think the quality of the design that we did speaks for itself. You can say this is not your father or your grandfather's maintenance shop just by looking around quickly. As Jano and Rich have said, it's both more resilient and it's also more functional, and is a model for collaboration between our agency, the capital agency, and our operating partners at the MTA. We didn't just fix the damage from Hurricane Sandy, which was extensive. During the design process, we recognized that it would be more cost efficient to build an entirely new shop rather than make piecemeal repairs. And that's where we really have to come back again and thank the FTA and Steve Goodman and his colleagues and those who he works with in Washington for supporting the strong resiliency program that we had that enabled us to fully rebuild this facility, not just patch it up. Every aspect of this facility was designed with functionality in mind, which helps to serve the Staten Island Railway, create a better environment for its employees, and enable more reliable service. The cranes above will make dealing with a broken AC unit a breeze. The wheel truing machine means that cars don't have to get carted all the way to Brooklyn to get fixed. Our creative in-house design allows us to move trains in any direction thanks to a new track turning mechanism that's right in front of us here, and you can see. And there's lots of folks that have been involved in getting this done. I really want to thank and recognize our contractor, Prismatic, who are represented here today, and we're very pleased that they're here and that they're going to continue working with the MTA and helping us to get our projects done. We had a consultant contract manager, a construction manager, Hill International, and our great MTA project management in the new construction and development that Jano referenced that has been adept at building a project, keeping it on time and on budget the way that we did here. I want to just quickly thank our infrastructure team, Dana Hecht, who runs our business unit for infrastructure. Teddy Yu is here, our head of architecture, Robert Palmieri, who led the design for this. Our program director, Sonia Jasing, isn't here today, but a couple of her folks, MD Hassan and Dharmesh Patel, are here. We rode here and got to catch up about all of the amazing things that got done on this project. So I want to thank them and thank our colleagues and collaborators. And with that, I want to call up, where is he? Demetrius, our great partner for the Department of Subways, to say some words.
Thank you, Jamie. Just a fantastic day. Delighted to be here. Today is a day that we've been waiting for a very long time. I just can't thank the men and women that supported getting here, making it possible. I can't thank them enough. This project represents resiliency in so many fronts. It's the resiliency for the MTA. It's a resiliency for it represents the folks that are standing around here, and ultimately the resiliency of Staten Island as a whole. I mean, I remember when I was the VP and chief officer here, it was a challenge. I mean, the circumstances that folks worked under. We spoke about this project, this day, this moment when we could finally usher in the new. And knowing where we were, where we came from, and then following the decimation of the car shop at that point, following Hurricane Sandy, it was challenging. I mean, inundated by water, the team worked wonders to restore and maintain the service that we had at that point. And the shop itself was still degraded, but they still were able to maintain it. So this shop is truly a breath of fresh air, be it the state-of-the-art modernized space for maintaining the fleet of cars, the work equipment, new industrial machinery, welding equipment, the new design, the layout of the shop, which minimizes the need for Staten Island to ship cars elsewhere, as mentioned by Jamie, the wheel truing machine. The shop is just designed for the future. It's the future of the R211, which allows us to maintain new cars, which the R44s have been around for far longer than they should have, but we're bringing in some new R211Ss. It's just fantastic. This represents a change for Staten Island, which I can't stress enough. I want to thank the current VP. Banu Thomas has done a fantastic job of turning over. The amazing management team that you see represented here that has done an enormous job, and our progressive union partners who have ensured that we were able to cross the finish line to get to this point. So the future of Staten Island Railway is in great hands, and you've heard enough of me speak. I thank you all.
Nicely done, Demetrius. Let me start by saying, although the recovery efforts and me leading those efforts for Hurricane Sandy may have aged me in dog years, I am not ready to retire, as Jano may have suggested. So, good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of the Federal Transit Administration and the U.S. Department of Transportation, I am so pleased to be here today with you as MTA officially opens the new Clinton Maintenance Shop. First, I want to acknowledge and thank everyone that has touched this project, including the MTA team, all of the elected officials, some are here today, and my team at the FTA, who supported the development and the delivery of this critical project. And some of them are here today, Manoj Das, right, and Brian Haynes right there. So thank you for that. And none of this would have been possible without the vision and hard work of MTA leadership, led by Jana Lieber, who was joined by some of his dedicated management team today. It's been 10 years since Hurricane Sandy struck the New York metropolitan area. And as we all know, that storm significantly damaged the region's transit infrastructure, including this Clifton shop, the only maintenance facility for Staten Island Railway, a transit system that served over 2.8 million riders last year. Hurricane Sandy literally swamped the facility with a 6-foot storm surge. So I'm so glad to be here to help open MTA's entirely rebuilt maintenance facility that is now superstorm resilient, okay? Today, this heavy maintenance facility, which also serves as the headquarters for the Staten Island Railroad, can get back to its business of maintaining trains and other critical equipment. The culmination of our work demonstrates how we are investing in transit infrastructure and advancing key priorities of President Biden and Secretary Buttigieg in areas such as climate change and resiliency, and improving how we serve riders in New York. FTA has been excited to support this important project. As Jano mentioned, we contribute a lot of money to this project. We contributed nearly $170 million in federal Hurricane Sandy relief funds to help repair the damage caused by the storm and build back in a more resilient way. This project will reap enormous benefits for the riders in Staten Island and help them get where they need to go. With the passage of the bipartisan infrastructure law last week, we have even more opportunity to support transit across America, and I look forward to the many more events like this one. On behalf of the FTA, I again wish to congratulate the MTA, the staff of all the public officials here today, and the MTA staff for the efforts to complete this project. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Vito Fasella. I'm happy to be here as well. And just three quick things, right? A lot has been said, and this is a very day that many people have been looking forward to, so I congratulate and commend everybody who's brought us here, who made it happen. But it's been talked about a couple of different ways, and one is resiliency, right? So resiliency has its own definition, but the way I'm looking at it right now is when Hurricane Sandy came and tried to knock out Staten Island and New York City, we fought back, and we have the resiliency to stand here today and say we're not going to let a storm knock us down again, right? So that's number one. To the FTA that just spoke, they've been good federal partners throughout the last several decades. For those of you who may remember, and some of the folks behind me were there, after 9/11, when downtown Manhattan was destroyed, the FTA actually was a very strong partner in helping to rebuild downtown Manhattan, and we see the results of that today. Secondly, talk about investment. We're very, very pleased that the MTA and their partners have chosen to invest in Staten Island. Rich talked about, the unsexiness of this, but the reality is this is essential to keep this system going, strong, and continue to be vibrant in the decades ahead. And lastly, the reason why we're here, the reason why I believe we're here, is the reason we've all chosen to go into public service. We're here because of the Staten Island resident, the folks who get up every morning at 5 or 6 o'clock, sometimes don't get back home till 7, 8 o'clock after working a full day. They're taking the train, they're taking the express bus, they're taking the ferry. Those are the people we're here to serve. And anything we can do to enhance their experience, to improve their quality of life, to get them from point A to point B more efficiently, and more swiftly, more expeditiously, I think the better off we are, and most importantly, the better off they are. So for all of you who commit your life to serving the public and to make the quality of life for the people of Staten Island better, I say thank you on behalf of those 500,000 people.
So tell me a little bit about the impact that the hurricane had on this facility, how it impacted service, and also, if I can ask another question, how vulnerable is this new facility to superstorms?
Yeah, sure. So they talked about 6 feet of water in the building. If you'd imagine 6 feet with cars that, a shop full of equipment, cars, everything that would serve service for Staten Island, the tracks itself all flooded, the building severely damaged by water. So the storm itself, that type of storm, the building was just not prepared for. So this is really an opportunity for the organization, for Staten Island Railway, for Staten Island as a whole to be resilient. And Jamie will talk a little bit about.
Sure. Yeah, this new facility is built according to federal flood standards, so resilient to a Category 2 hurricane. And it's got a lot of features. We would sort of summarize it as it's both dry-proof and wet-proof, which means that we've got reinforced concrete walls for the building and able to seal up all of the openings and entrances to make sure that future flooding does not get into the building. But then, if that risk were to occur, there's all sorts of features inside the building related to all the vital equipment to make sure that it's either elevated further above the floor or it's in a condition where it's effectively wet-proofed or flood-proof. So we would expect that we'd be resilient in the event of any future storm.
Hi, how's it going? I was wondering on the topic of resiliency. There was an instance about a year or two ago where one of the storms brought some major flooding to a bus depot in Castleton. Some of the buses, I understand, were damaged during that time. I'm curious if there's any resiliency efforts or anything in the work for resiliency at the bus depots in addition to the Staten Island Railway.
Well, I know Jamie can comment on that, but the principal resiliency investment we're making for society in the bus depots is to electrify our bus fleet. And we're now in the process. We have two of the largest Staten Island bus depots that are slated to be early in receiving the electric charging infrastructure. That's Charleston and Yukon. And that's going to enable us to move buses as we start to receive more and more of these electric buses. And we're going to be testing out not only electric MTA local buses and SBS buses, but also testing out express buses that are EVs as well. So we want to make Staten Island one of the leaders as we move in electric buses, as we move to that aspect of our fleet. And the most important input to that decision is to electrify the depots. And it's a complicated process. You got to, figure out how do you install the charging infrastructure. There are multiple aspects of the charging infrastructure. There are pantographs, there's plug-in, and so on and so on. You have to bring the extra electricity to the site. But we have slated Staten Island to be at the front end of that process. But Jamie, on the specifics of this project?
Well, I'll say we're consistently looking at all of our assets, across the entire system, in light of multiple climate hazards. We have what we're here talking about today is the result of, or part of, the MTA's $8 billion investment in coastal storm resiliency in the wake of Hurricane Sandy, which represents investments across the entire system to make it more resilient. As you mentioned, last year and over the last couple of years, we've seen a different type of hazard, heavy rainfall, that's come and it shows a different type of vulnerability. It's actually not as damaging because it's not saltwater, but it can happen in a much more unpredictable way with less warning. And so we have a task force that we're actually working, because it's not a single party that can solve this problem. We have a task force with city agencies where we're going neighborhood by neighborhood and identifying the best way to ensure that we can manage stormwater in that type of an event and evaluate our facilities. I'll get back to you specifically about what we're doing at the Castleton Depot, but that's the program that we put in place, because we can't rebuild all of our facilities in the immediate term. We have to find different ways to make them more resilient and work with partners to ensure that we do so.
This facility officially open, and I know that you mentioned that the cars had to go to Brooklyn. So what will be the impact on service if there was an impact on service bringing the cars to Brooklyn? What will it look like now?
So yes, the facility is open. And when we talked about the cars going to Brooklyn, because you couldn't do the heavy duty work in the old shop, such as truing the wheels for customer comfort or for customer safety, these cars, this shop gives you the flexibility, the size to be able to do any type of heavy duty equipment. You can get cranes in to take heavy duty equipment off of the cars. You can get above to be able to get to the AC units. You just could not do that in the old small shop.